Hi, my name is Dr. Michelle Chartier, and I'm a dentist here in Atlanta, Georgia, and a graduate of USC School of Dentistry. Today, I'm going to help you get into dental school. Interestingly enough, I think you can use these tips and tricks to get into most graduate programs, whether it be dentistry, law school, MBA programs, whatever the case may be. So today we're going to focus on the 4 key components to the application process. Stay until the end. I think you'll find every single item of benefit. And if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Let's go. Okay, today we're going to start with number 1, which is know the numbers. I'm going to compare and contrast the numbers or the statistics for the incoming class of the dental school for 2023 graduates. Meaning, these are the applicants that have already participated in this year's academic program. So, I'm going to start with the Herman Ostrow University of Southern California School of Dentistry, which is my alma mater, but we used to just call it USC School of Dentistry. It's a private university, and I graduated in 1995. For the class of 2023, they had 3,000 applicants for 144 positions. The DAT average, which is the dental aptitude test, the average numbers were 20.4, and it's 54% female, and the average GPA is 3.59. So if you're looking to apply to USC School of Dentistry and you're within the parameters and those numbers and statistics, you have a good shot at that school. But no, there's only 144 student positions for 3,000 applicants. Another breakdown that I found very interesting is 21 states were represented in those applicant pool, and 45 of those students had masters, so not just an undergraduate education. The tuition to the school and expenses, not including housing, was $418,000. That's a pretty big number. So you need to know these numbers going in. Is this the school we want to apply to? And do I have a shot? Okay, let's contrast the private school of USC School of Dentistry with a state school. So let's just use Georgia since it's the state that I practice in. So the Dental College of Georgia at Augusta, their class of 2023 has currently 772 applicants for 96 positions. You should note that 88 of those positions will be granted to in-state applicants. There were only 5 states aside from Georgia represented in the applicant pool. The average GPA was 3.57, the DAT testing average was 20, and females comprised 56% of that. Only 9 applicants had master's degrees. Of the 202 interviews that were granted to the applicants, 161 of those were going to come from Georgia applicants. In contrast with a private school, the state school tuition is $263,920. So a very significant difference. And I also have a video on is dental school affordable, how to make it more affordable, and I will link that above. So those are the numbers you need to know. If you're going to go to an in-state school, it sounds like you might need to live in that state. Otherwise, you are competing for a position that it will be hard to attain. Whereas you might want to apply to a private school, but the cost of tuition is pretty cumbersome. And so if your numbers fall into any of those realms, go ahead and apply and see what happens. So that's number 1, know the numbers. Number 2, letters of recommendation. So you're going to need 2 to 3 excellent letters of recommendation during your application process. I have some great ideas on that. Number 1, review who your current professors are and what their alma mater might be. So if you find that any of your current professors happen to be graduates or alumni of a school that you're interested in applying for, that's an excellent resource for a letter of recommendation. If you aren't lucky enough to find that match, you should also consider developing a relationship with the head of the department with which you are majoring in. So for example, in my case, Dr. Carson was the head of the biology department at my undergrad program. And early on, I developed a relationship and let her know I was very interested in dentistry. And I met with her each semester and reviewed the things that I was doing to build up my application. And that way she knew I was very serious about going into dentistry. And she also got to know me on a personal level, so she was able to write an excellent letter of recommendation. Another decision that I made was to reach out to some members that are on the board of executives or trustees for USC. I basically had to do this the hard way because we didn't have the internet. But today, all you have to do is do a Google search of all the executives and executive board at USC or even USC School of Dentistry. Ask your parents, ask your neighbors, ask, business associates or your uncles or aunts or whomever you can if they know of anyone who's on the board of trustees or executives of the school which you're applying. Meet with them and ask them for a letter of recommendation. Another great suggestion is to use the resource of a local politician. So you can go online and Google search politicians in the area that you live. You can also see what their alma mater is. So even better, if you see, well, hey, Brian Kemp, who's the governor of Georgia, went to UGA, I can write a letter to him and ask him if he will write me a letter of recommendation. You might offer to work for his campaign or do some work on the side or anything like that. So these are excellent resources, and use Google to your benefit to find alumni or people who have some influence and would look excellent on your letter of recommendation. Okay, here we go. So I just Googled Georgia politician, and I just used Georgia because that's the state I'm in. And the first person that came up was Brian Kemp. And on this side, you can see he went to University of Georgia. So if you're interested in UGA, who else did I see? Was it Doug Collins? I think he went to theology school. Yeah, he went to theology school. So if that's your interest, here's a good resource. That's Stacey Abrams. This is great. And this is not for dental school, but she is, let's see here. She is a Yale Law School graduate. So if you want to go to Yale, here's a great resource, Stacey Abrams. Let's see. Who was it? Somebody here, maybe Drew Ferguson, I think it was. Went to the Medical College of Georgia, which is now called something else. Here we go. So Drew Ferguson is a Medical College of Georgia graduate. So again, a great resource for you if you're thinking about applying to that school. So just follow this kind of logic here. See how easy it is to get this information. You can reach out to his office and offer to maybe help with their campaign or volunteer or do something like that and help them out and let them know you're interested in applying to their alma mater. So, hope this is helpful. Number 3 in the application process is the essay. Now, the essay asks kind of a generalized question typically, and you have to basically say why you want to become a dentist or why you want to go to that school or something along those lines. Well, this is the critical time where you must differentiate yourself. How do you do that? Well, you need to be uniquely yourself in this portion of the application. So, for example, myself, what I did was I told the true story of how I wanted to become a dentist or a Burger King lady. And you're like, what? A Burger King lady? When I was 4 years old, I used to go to the dentist, and afterwards my mom would take me to Burger King as a treat for being well behaved at the doctor's office. So for some reason, I assimilated Burger King and dentistry along the same lines. I mean, granted, I was a small child. So when I was a little girl, I told my mom, oh my gosh, this was the best day ever. I either want to be a dentist or a Burger King lady. So when I applied to dental school, I of course had to include that because it is legitimately, authentically who I am and what I really felt and how long that I've been aspiring to be a dentist. So when I went in for my interview, they all wanted to know, who is this person who wanted to be a Burger King lady? It's a true story. Find something unique about yourself that will differentiate you from other applicants. Number 4, last but not least, the interview. Congratulations, your application has worked and you were granted an interview. All right, guys, let's not mess this up. Okay, before you go to the interview, you need to do your research. You need to search for the person who will be interviewing you and see who they are and anything you can find out about them. And I know you're a good researcher on these matters because you probably use social media, but they're probably going to have more information on LinkedIn more so than Facebook or TikTok or something like that. So if you can find out any information about who they are, their interests, or anything like that, don't be creepy. Just have some of that information in your back pocket and maybe bring it up as subtle information along the way. Another thing that you can do if you can't find them on the internet, because sometimes their profiles aren't public, is to look around their office for little clues of who they are, what their interests might be, or things like that. But you should definitely know their name, and you can find that usually because the Dean of Admissions or the Dean of Student Affairs is going to be who's interviewing you. Or you can even ask before you enter the interview who's going to be interviewing you and do the research from there. So be prepared for your interview and your interviewer. All right. Also, show them who you are. They need to know who you are and sell them on how you would be a great fit for that program. They want to know that you are the type of person that they would be proud to have in their program and then go out and represent them in the community. You can show them this so many ways, but just be authentically you and try not to be too nervous. And last but not least, before you go, please make sure you've gotten some rest, you're appropriately dressed for an interview, and you have good energy throughout the interview. Don't look bored. I'm sure you can find a YouTube video on how to properly interview for a job, for example. So I hope you find all this information useful. So we're going to know the numbers. We're going to get good letters of recommendation. We're going to have an amazing application essay. And our interview is going to be spot on. And you can tell me in the comments below what dental school you got into. Thanks. Keep smiling.